Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, fresh in from the gym and ready to record because there is a new interview out between Yoshi-P and Famitsu magazine. Now, I was going to use the Japanese version and just Google Translate it and scroll through and read all the ridiculous things Google Translate tries to say, but fortunately, Reddit user mkelby posted a summary of the most important bits. So after reading through it, I agree these are the most important bits, so we're just going to use their post. I'll include a link in the description, which will not only take you to the Reddit post, but as you can see at the top, there's also a link to the original article in case you want to glance through it yourself. Before the video kicks off though, it does have a sponsor, Magic Spoon. Another month, another batch of delicious cereal that fits my needs. Magic Spoon gives me yet another high protein option throughout the day that lets me connect with my childhood at the same time. Growing up, my family was big on snacking, and I got big on snacking. It's important to me now to have a lot of options that help support my healthier lifestyle, and Magic Spoon has become a staple of that. Sometimes after the gym or when I'm bored in the evening, I'll grab a box of the cereal or one of their treat bars, just get to crunching. Better to have Magic Spoon and enjoy its low sugar and high protein count than to grab something like a bag of chips. Besides, I have a sweet tooth that it satisfies quite well. If you'd like to try Magic Spoon and its many cereal flavors or try out their treat bars while also supporting the channel, then click the link below and get some today. Build your own custom box of cereal, including some of my favorites. I actually got 4 boxes of maple waffle this month, so I'm not feeling very original, but it's one I highly recommend, alongside cinnamon roll, birthday cake, and a handful of others. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mr. Happy to get $5 off your box. Maybe use that discount to treat yourself to one of those treat bars too. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you. No questions asked. So click the link below, or you can use the QR code on the screen and use code Mr. Happy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mr. Happy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now on with the video. Speaking of which, the interview isn't really just between Famitsu and Yoshi-P. It's kind of a three-way interview that includes mobile game designer Shimoda Shuda, who has worked at Square Enix historically on titles such as Dissidia Final Fantasy. Him and Yoshi-P just kind of go way back, and they talk about just kind of their careers as developers. It's far from the first time we've heard an interview like this from Yoshi-P, reflecting on, 1.0 craziness, Soken almost quitting the company because of how bad 1.0 was, and some of the other games that he's worked on, and how him and Shimoda Shuda know each other. Like, it's a lot of that, and it is an interesting read even through Google Translate. I'm not upset that I read through the whole thing, but there's one bit that definitely stands out above the rest, and it is this first part that has been highlighted by mkelby here. Now, throughout Endwalker, there have been more complaints about Final Fantasy XIV oversimplifying the game than any expansion prior. It's been something that's gradually been happening, expansion after expansion, and I'm not going to get into just talking about the 2-minute meta, but that, among other things, have just kind of made it so that Endwalker is fun for a few days, and then log off and don't really know what I'm doing with my time on the game kind of expansion. It's just made the game harder to interact with because it's taken so much and broken it down and simplified it to the point where it's like not even fun. Like, yeah, I could log in and get something done, but I don't just want to log in to get something done. I want to log in and feel like I'm accomplishing something, like I'm advancing my character or something that I've never challenged before. And for those of us who've been playing for 10 years especially, that's a really hard thing to do. I don't think you'll ever make us 100% satisfied, but for some people, it's like not even 10% satisfied. Like, Endwalker's been a really rough expansion. And Yoshi-P has a major regret about that oversimplification. As he puts it in the translation, regrets making Final Fantasy XIV less stressful. Now, I'm going to read the translation that was posted here, and you can go from there and kind of form your own, opinions and whatnot. So, Yoshida says, so from now on, we'll keep working to surprise players and go beyond what they imagine. Now, that's in reference to the fact that it's crazy that FanFest took place in Tokyo Dome. Like, that's something they couldn't even have imagined 10 years ago, and it was a reality earlier this year. But that reminds me of something I regret. As we've continued to operate Final Fantasy XIV, we've made the game more comfortable, a game you can play without stress. But looking back on the last 10 years, I'm thinking we've overdone it a bit. Shimoda asks, what do you mean? Yoshida replies, a video game should of course have an element of stress, but how to handle that properly is extremely difficult. Shimoda agrees. Yoshida replies, for example, in a side-scrolling game, if there aren't any holes you can drop down into if you miss a jump, of course the game would lose its stress, but it would also lose its fun. Yoshida then adds, speaking of Final Fantasy XIV, I would like to restore that part a little bit. If we do that, we can give everyone a better challenge in a good way more than ever before. I love the example that he uses in that of the side-scrolling game, because I think that might be one of the best analogies for what has happened to Final Fantasy XIV and what the complaints in Endwalker have actually been. It's not been that the game's too casual. It's not, of course, been that the game's too comfortable, and nobody's really complaining about quality of life. It's systematic changes that reduce the player's ability to enjoy it for anything more than a social simulator. Yeah, if you're going through and you're just going to house parties on the weekends, or you're just hanging out in limbs of socializing, then they've made it a lot better in a lot of ways. There's a lot more social tools available. There's things like the fashion accessories. Obviously, glam is always a big part of that. But in terms of actively engaging with elements of the game, they have made it more and more difficult to do that for long periods of time. And it's not that they need to make everything an ultra crazy grind or a super hard challenge. And that's not what he's saying they're going to do here either. But there needs to be some sense of challenge is a rough word, because again, I don't even want to use that. And actually, there's a comment under this that I think says it best. When getting Stone Vigil in your leveling roulette is the most challenging thing the game can offer, there's a good chance you're going to get bored and just log off. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what one of the comments says underneath this. And I agree. Like I've liked Endwalker subjectively, I suppose. Like I've enjoyed it for what it is, even if there have been problems with reward structure, 2-minute meta, etc. But my biggest problem with it is that the game doesn't want me to play it. It's not about quality of life or reducing stress. It feels like it actively wants me to go away by just making sure everything can be done ultra quick, or is so uninvolved that it's not even interesting enough to commit to. That's why places like Eureka, which isn't even that hard or complicated, still flourish to this day, because people would rather go back and do something that was made 5 years ago that actually gives them that sense in some capacity, more so than the current content even does. That's why people are going back and doing crazy things in like UCOB and whatnot, which we got a whole other video to talk about with what just happened there. It's people are trying to find the fun in between the game's quality of life and updates that have made it almost just, it's almost a chore to figure out how to play. Not a chore to play. It's like mind-boggling to figure out, what am I even going to do while I'm playing this game right now? Unless you're new and still working through stuff and have tons of, tangential goals that you haven't worked on yet, like ocean fishing or triple triad collections, or getting all your gold saucer stuff, like getting that and keeping up with seasonal, like the little things that those of us who have played for so long just, they're like second nature. They're like an afterthought at this point. So the fact that he says this is very important. It's also in line with something he said about their goals for Dawn Trail and making it feel more like an MMO. Basically said he wants more group activities. He wants it to feel more like you're playing an MMO during certain pieces of content. And we're seeing that with the return of exploration content, comments that the relic grind won't just be tomes again, and so on and so forth. While there's still definitely bits and pieces we're waiting to hear more about, I know a lot of people, of course, waiting to hear about combat changes to see if we'll still be on the 2-minute meta, will Criterion get rewards. We obviously have heard a little bit about cosmic exploration, but that sense of togetherness that comes from working together with your server to actively improve the exploration area that we're in, and they have confirmed that it does work something like Ishgard Restoration, so please look forward to it. It's all of those things that will bring that feeling back, or that can bring that feeling back to the people who are lacking it, to the people who want to be talking about the game the most, that want to be able to have discussion, that drive new people to pick up the game and play it in the first place. So I'm glad to hear that he at least is reflecting on those changes and how they've affected Final Fantasy XIV. And I'm curious to see how they plan to restore that. And again, 2-minute meta and a few things like tomes and reward structure are going to be at the top of people's attention list. Now, Yoshi-P does briefly talk about his, quote, intentions for his next game. And all he really says is that he kind of just talks about like letting the next generation take over, how he's getting older. It's kind of a discussion he's already had before. Nothing's decided yet, but if he does do another title, he wants to be the director, not the producer like he was with Final Fantasy XVI. What I thought was interesting is, in terms of timing, do you think you have one more game left? That's so he's over 50 now, and he says that here, but that's kind of a messed up question. Do you think you can even make one more game, or do you think you can make more than that? It's like, he'll make as many games as he wants. I feel like Yoshida is not going to stop until he has to stop when it comes to stuff like this. But he talks about, like, he's been thinking about passing the baton to the next generation, but then he also thinks, let me do one more game. But he didn't even want to think about it like that. He realized that, like, if he starts to set like a ceiling for himself, it's not really a good idea. I mean, he still snowboards over the age of 50. He feels better than he ever has been before. And as he said, there's still so much that he can do. So it's better not to think about what the limit of what he can accomplish is. I feel like setting limits will make things boring. Of course, there's one approach to things that you can only make progress by setting goals, but as an organization grows to a large scale like this, I think it's better to adopt the approach that I don't know what the future holds, but I'll do my best every time. I hope that even I will achieve things I didn't think possible. So just a quick little inspirational part at the end there, not to set your own limits and set your own ceilings and all that. But obviously people are going to latch on. The over 1,100 comments tells you that they are going to latch on to this bit right here. And I have a feeling the comment section is also going to latch on to that very, very heavily. Anyway, that's going to be it. We made a pretty long video for just 2 comments from Yoshi-P, and we didn't even cover all the stuff in the interview. So let me know what you think in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe. And I threw in a Magic Spoon ad because I left it out of my weekly Q&A because I'm stupid. So thank you to them for sponsoring this video as well. Be sure to click the link in the description for that also. And I'll see you in the next video. There's actually a handful of other interviews to go over. One from 16, one from Kate, which I've already recorded but haven't posted yet. And we got to talk about this most recent UCOB clear, but that's going to be in another video as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. And until then, take care.